It's so good, man, but not for these characters because they each embody one of the 7 deadly sins, just like Chuck McGill embodies envy.
Couldn't be precious Jimmy, stealing them blind. And he gets to be a lawyer? What a sick joke. I should have stopped him when I had the chance.
Being the older brother to a delinquent is hard, but that did not give Chuck leeway to breed hate and envy towards his younger brother. Growing up, Jimmy was the charming, likable one, often getting away with mischief due to his charisma and ability to connect with people. Their mother even adored Jimmy, and all this just intensified Chuck's resentment and envy. And that envy is what leads Chuck to wrongfully blame Jimmy for the failure of their dad's business and death, which in turn causes their mother's demise. Envy is also what leads Chuck to never tell Jimmy to subscribe to Hunterific, but more importantly, about their mom's last words.
No, Mom, it's me, Chuck.
Jimmy.
No, Mom, it's me.
Chuck's envy is a manifestation of his insecurities and need for validation, and after watching this show several times over, I've noticed Chuck and Jimmy are actually two sides of the same coin.
You've never mattered all that much to me.
Jimmy may con someone out of the money in their wallet or bank account, but Chuck con came out of a multi-million-dollar client, exploited Howard's sense of duty and guilt into being the bad guy to his brother, and even used his illness to trick his brother into self-incrimination. If only Chuck had put a little faith in his little brother and stopped being a control freak fueled by envy, both brothers could have worked together happily, and Jimmy never would have become Saul Goodman, the embodiment of greed.
I'm so far beyond you! I'm like a god in human clothing! Lightning bolts shoot from my fingertips!
Saul Goodman's transformation from a struggling public defender to a morally compromised lawyer is fueled by an unquenchable desire for wealth and success. He is always willing to bend or break the law to achieve his goals, and his greed only expands further as he takes on different identities and aliases, from Jimmy McGill to Saul Goodman.
You're gonna call yourself Saul Goodman.
It's all good, man.
To Jane Takovich. He manipulates legal loopholes, engages in shady deals, and associates with dangerous criminals, all in pursuit of financial gain.
Friend of the cartel, right?
Saul's involvement in the Sandpiper Crossing class action lawsuit is evidence of how well he represents greed. Initially, he genuinely wants to help the elderly residents who were overcharged. However, as the case grows, so does his potential payout. So his focus shifts from justice to the massive financial settlement, leading him to manipulate evidence and push for a quicker resolution to get his share of the money. When Kim Wexler lands Mesa Verde as a client, Saul sees an opportunity to eke out a fortune for himself too. He forges documents to sabotage the case against his brother and rival Chuck McGill, ensuring Kim retains the lucrative client. This act of greed not only jeopardizes Kim's career at the tail end, but also strains their relationship.
We are bad for everyone around us. Other people suffer because of us. It is a lie. You lie.
Saul's greed is also evident in his dealings with Lalo Salamanca. Despite knowing the dangers in associating with this notorious Salamanca cartel, he agrees to represent Lalo for a substantial fee. Ultimately, Saul's greed lands him behind bars, and standing on the other side is Kim Wexler, Lost personified.
Insult my intelligence by saying you are doing any of this for me. You don't save me. I save me.
Despite the fact that this favorite line of hers sounds very smug and shows her conviction as a self-made woman, Kim is never really able to save herself from lust. Right from when she started working for HHM to when she pulled her first scam with Jimmy, Kim has always been lusting for something she didn't really have. She was literally overpowered by this lust in the middle of a conference call with as important a client as Sandpiper. The way Kim Wexler portrays lust affirms the twisted paradoxical philosophy that when people stoop low, you join them. It was clear from the first time she had sex with Jimmy that in a fucked up way, scamming people was the thing that turned her on the most. For most of the show, Kim is the character with a moral compass, but this changes the deeper she gets involved with Jimmy. She ends up following Jimmy down the slippery slope of chicanery, and this slope ultimately lands her in a cursed suburbia where she has no career as a lawyer and a love life she detests. Hector Salamanca, the once feared cartel boss, is now nobody but a bell-ringing grandpa in a wheelchair. But before becoming this bell-ringing grumpy grandpa, Hector was a force to be reckoned with. Born in Mexico in 1939, he climbed the ranks to become a high-ranking capo in the Juarez cartel. That was Hector. He was so fierce and respected that even his nephews, the infamous Salamanca twins, looked up to him as their mentor.
La familia es todo.
It was in the mid-90s that Hector decided to expand his empire into the US, using an ice cream shop as a front for his drug operations. It worked for a while. He was living the high life, making deals and taking names. Then came the heart disease. But he didn't quite end up in a wheelchair until Nacho Varga consistently swapped his heart meds with sugar pills. This act amplified Hector's health issue and boom, paralyzed.
Hector, this isn't personal. It is! It is personal!
1 minute, he's the kingpin of a drug empire. The next, he's stuck in a wheelchair, unable to speak and communicating through a bell. Nacho really turned this man into the sin of sloth. Hector would then spend his days in Casa Tranquilla, a nursing home that sounds way more peaceful than it actually is. His only form of existence is ringing that bell. It's as though he's found a way to be lazy and still get what he wants, like deliberately tipping over a cup of water just to have a chance to inspect the nurse's butt. But before you conclude what a genius Hector is, just know that being slothful doesn't pay off in any way. Even in his slothful state, Hector still found a way to go out with a bang, literally speaking. And in this ultimate act of defiance, he uses his bell to trigger a bomb that takes out his arch-nemesis, Gustavo Fring, the sin of wrath. His wrath is not the explosive in-your-face kind. Rather, it takes on a cold and calculated approach to revenge, which makes Gustavo one of the most terrifying villains in television history. Gus Fring is a master of disguise. On the surface, he's a polite, soft-spoken businessman who runs a successful chain of fast food restaurants.
I'm delighted to hear that.
But beneath that calm exterior is a man driven by vengeance and an unrelenting desire for control. His wrath is like a boiling pot, always on the verge of eruption, but never quite losing the lid. Gus's wrath can be traced back to the brutal murder of his business partner and close friend, Maximino Arciniega, by Hector Salamanca on Don Eladio's orders.
Compañero, sí. Yo lo necesito. Él es mi compañero. Por favor, se lo...
From that moment on, every move he makes is driven by a desire for revenge. He doesn't just want to kill Hector, he wants to destroy everything and everyone Hector cares about.
He was the only family you had left. Now, the Salamanca name dies with you.
He doesn't want Hector to die just yet, until he's done exacting his vengeance on him. Gus's wrath is one of a kind. Given his patience and meticulous planning, he spent years building his drug empire, all the while plotting his revenge against the cartel. He constructs a secret meth lab, eliminates his dependence on the cartel, and slowly chips away at their power. One of the most chilling examples of Gus's wrath is when he visits Hector in the nursing home, taunting him with his success and the latter's helplessness. Gus's ultimate act of vengeance is using Hector to kill Don Eladio and the other cartel members. His can be described as a masterstroke of wrath, combining psychological torment with physical destruction. But like other deadly sins I have discussed, Gus's wrath ultimately leads to his downfall. But before this, he faced the foe that shook him to his core, and that's Lalo Salamanca, the embodiment of pride.
Oh my God! Oh my God! No!
Lalo is a high-ranking member of the Salamanca family, a person whose pride is subtly woven into his actions and demeanor. While often appearing cheerful and charismatic on the outside, his pride is the ultimate driving force behind his ruthless behavior. Given his undeniable charm and charisma, Lalo often presents himself as a friendly, approachable figure, even to his enemies. This facade is the proof of his pride. He believes he can control any situation with his wit and charm, and this confidence in his abilities is a clear indication of his pride.
Okay. Let's talk.
Lalo's pride also deeply sprouts from his family legacy. As a fellow Salamanca, he carries the weight of their reputation on his shoulders. He takes immense pride in his family status within the cartel and is determined to uphold their dominance. This pride drives him to take bold actions to protect and expand their influence. One of the most telling examples of Lalo's pride is his interaction with Gus Fring. Lalo is suspicious of Gus, so he goes to great lengths to expose his secrets. Pride blinds him to the danger that Gus poses, leading him to underestimate his rival.
Look, I'm gonna be in town for a while, so, we'll talk some more. We owe you.
But false confidence in his superiority and his family's legacy justifies his actions in his mind and eventually causes his downfall. Lalo's pride also shows in his mindless approach to violence. He kills without hesitation or remorse, seeing it as a necessary means to an end. Just like Gus, Lalo is a Machiavellian. For instance, he murders Fred Wyland, the travel wire employee, not because he wants to eliminate a loose end, but because he wants to assert his control and dominance. Lalo's pride is most evident in his final encounter with Gus. He carefully plans to expose Gus's secret meth lab, being confident in his ability to outsmart him. However, his pride leads him to take his time, savoring the moment of his expected victory. This delay gives Gus the opportunity to turn the tables.
Not yet.
Resulting in Lalo's death. The pride which made him believe he was invincible ultimately became his undoing. Frank Danielson, although a minor character in the Better Call Saul series, makes a really significant impact in his brief appearance, particularly in the episode Nippy. His character is an interesting representation of the deadly sin of gluttony, which Jimmy masterfully exploits to achieve his dubious objectives.
I haven't had one of these in forever. Watching the waistline.
Frank's life can be described as a monotony, and his only solace comes in the form of food, particularly the irresistible cinnamon rolls from Cinnabon, which ultimately becomes his Achilles heel. The cinnamon rolls are an edible distraction from the mundanity and perhaps the loneliness of his life as a security guard at Cottonwood Mall. They are his only way of filling a void, a substitute for the connections and excitement missing from his life. No wonder Gene Takovich repeatedly brings him these rolls, gradually building up the tempo for the perfect time to strike. Jimmy is a man who can read people like a book, and his strategy to exploit Frank's gluttony is cunning and insightful. He observes Frank's lifestyle for a while and quickly identifies his weakness for food. By timing how long it takes Frank to eat a cinnamon roll, Jimmy cleverly calculates the window of opportunity he would need to execute his heist. This manipulation is a classic example of how gluttony can be a person's downfall. It is a common trait among people who use food as a way to deal with stress, loneliness, or boredom. Frank's inability to resist the temptation of the cinnamon rolls leads to a breach in security. It compromises his professional integrity and ultimately lets Jimmy's accomplice Jeff steal valuable items from the mall. If you enjoyed this analysis, why not give it a like and subscribe? Because it is all good, man.